The Strait of Hormuz carries around 20 to 25% of the world's oil.
Yep.
And about 20% of the world's liquid natural gas. Guess who owns that strait? Iran. But right now the average is about 13 ships a day from 153. That's why you're seeing oil go crazy. You're seeing gas prices go crazy. If anyone lives in LA, there's that famous gas station in downtown LA, which is the most expensive gas station in all of California. Prices are almost at $9 per gallon.
Oh my God. People were protesting, like a far-right activist group was protesting in front of Mamdani's mayor mansion. It's called Gracie Mansions. It's where the mayor resides. So what happened was, amid all the chaos from the protests and whatnot, two Pennsylvania teenagers, they threw two IEDs. They were actual IEDs, but they didn't go off. Threw two IEDs in the crowd. They were immediately tackled by the pedestrians and quickly by the police.
Oil surged. Crude went up 35% plus. Oil hit over $100 a barrel. That hasn't happened in so long. Gasoline price in the States has gone up to $3.50. It's up 17% just from February 28th, guys. If oil stays above $100, like I was talking about before, oil impacts everything. It makes the world move, right? It makes...
Bitcoin actually saw the most inflows it's seen since December 2025 on Bitcoin through big institutions. Earlier you said, Bitcoin's been consolidating for 6 weeks. Where do you see it from here?
Welcome back to another episode of The Market Take, breaking down what's happening around the world in the markets and in crypto.
And if you like being informed about this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to our channel. And if you do watch our content and you're not sure if you're subscribed, please double check. A lot goes into making these videos, and we get super motivated when we see that people are interested. So yeah, thank you.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Market Take. The day is March 9th. And holy hell has some stuff happened since we missed literally just one episode. We missed one episode because we had to travel and literally a war goes off. But we'll be diving into that in this episode.
Yeah,
What's up, Justin?
I honestly can't even wrap my head around it. I mean, we knew it was coming, but wow. I mean, the timing just... is insane. So, but I'm sure you guys seen what's going on, but let's recap it, right? So last week, the U.S. carried out a mission called Epic Fury, Operation Epic Fury. They killed the Iran supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, destroyed nuclear sites and government buildings as well. Now, some things to take note here. And I just think this is a death sentence now. It looks like Iran...
There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, there is. So Iran brought in a new leader, and it's actually the son of the supreme leader that just got killed. And it's his son. His name is Mojtaba Khamenei. To be honest, I don't give it very long until he's 6 feet under. So what happened? So again, we carried out Operation Epic Fury, and we striked a bunch of sites in Iran. We gained air superiority in Iran again. Over 900 strikes were carried out. Iran's navy has been mostly destroyed. They sunk 32 of their battleships that they had. I think that's all the battleships they had. Granted, they do have submarines and other naval assets, but the big ones are obviously the battleships. And those have been sunken. Oil facilities have been hit in Iran too. Just recently, if you saw on the news of that huge explosion going on in Iran, that was one of their main oil facilities in Tehran. And that, that was burning for, I think, a whole day or maybe a couple days. And that's definitely a crippling hit to that economy for sure. Also, we're going to get into our oil prices as well because they've also been skyrocketing.
Man.
Yeah, I know you want to talk about that. Proxy sites have been hit. What's a proxy site? So, guys, if you don't know, usually big government militaries or big governments will use other armies from different nations or militia groups to to pretty much do their dirty laundry. For example, Iran's proxies are terrorist organizations like Hezbollah and Hamas. You could argue that Ukraine is a proxy for the U.S.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It is 100%. It is. It's not even a question.
Yeah. And, and so forth. Proxy wars are nothing new, but, those are some of the, there was a bunch of proxy sites like where terrorist groups and terrorist leadership from organizations were hiding out in Lebanon. Israel just recently struck a hotel in Lebanon that was allegedly housing leadership from Hezbollah. And I mean,
here's a great example of a proxy war: the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh yeah, for sure. Cuba,
literally the definition of it.
Yeah, you would say Cuba was the proxy to Russia, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could go on for days and days about proxy wars and
let's
and even how I mean, and we'll get into more of it because the US has even proxies right now in Iran at the border ready to go in on foot. And we'll touch base on that. So how did Iran retaliate? So they basically retaliated by striking a bunch of the Gulf nations, basically around Iran. And that includes Bahrain, Dubai, Qatar, and Kuwait. Now, let's break down one by one because I think it's very important of what exactly they hit in each of these nations. In Bahrain, you saw a drone strike hit a luxury hotel. You saw drone strikes hit airports. You saw a U.S. Navy base get hit, and they were dealt pretty severe structural damage over there. Another important thing, too, is Iran struck their desalination plant. What's a desalination plant? Basically, they take seawater and they turn it into purified, usable water, whether it be for drinking, bathing, whatever. So, yeah, it looks like Bahrain, maybe even Dubai, which is shocking, got the worst of it. In Dubai, there wasn't really a lot of coverage on this, but I mean, there kind of was, kind of wasn't. But over 800 projectiles hit Dubai, especially the U.S. Al Dhafra Air Base, the Palm Hotel, which is a luxury hotel, a very popular, opulent hotel in Dubai. Even the Dubai airport, the Abu Dhabi airport, and the Fujairah oil facility in Abu Dhabi, and also some residential areas. Now, I mean, oil's the name of the game here, and man, you guys are starting to see a pattern here. We're coming after each other's oil, essentially. These are very strategic hits. Qatar, Al Udeid U.S. Air Base hit. But mostly the missiles were intercepted over Doha. But Doha is a very popular international airport in the Middle East, and they had to shut down the Doha airport because of this. And then
huge airport. Flew there a few times.
Yeah, I know. It's I think you have to. Don't you have to go through there when you're flying through the Middle East?
Yeah, so basically how it worked was from Russia to Armenia, we flew from Russia to Armenia, and then from Armenia to Doha to LA to Vegas.
Dude, Qatar also had to shut down their gas production because of all. I mean, they're claiming force majeure over here, but It's quite apparent that Iran's targeting every oil facility that they can, and they want to salvage that, of course. Now, Kuwait's a big one. So this is where, and God rest their soul, this is where 3 U.S. troops died initially. Now, at this current time, 7 U.S. servicemen or U.S. troops have died during this war. But Kuwait was the initial one. Their airport got hit. The Camp Afrajan, where the U.S. troops were, got hit. The Al Salam Air Base got hit. Did you, by the way, since we're on Kuwait right now, did you see those F-15s get shot down?
Yeah, I was gonna say I wanted you to cover the U.S. casualties too, so I could get into the oil in what I think is really going on in all this situation, not what's on the news, and not the Iran has nuclear weapons that have been chanted on TV for the last 20 to 30 years. But yeah, I did see that, and I saw it was friendly fire too, right?
Yeah, dude, this is how it happened, which is crazy. I don't know, like, where the lack of communication was. Like this, I think this is like a crazy oversight, but a very costly one. Mm-hmm. But anyways, Kuwait was dealing with like a bunch of drone attacks at the time. So they were intercepting all these drones, and then these 3 U.S. F-15 fighter jets came in right after, pretty much, and a Kuwaiti FA-18 fired 3 missiles at him, took all 3 of them out. Now you might ask yourself, okay, did the U.S. not detect or did these fighter pilots not detect incoming missiles? Did they not pop flares? Like, what happened? Yada, yada, yada. Dude, I'm sure there was such an overlap where they thought, I'm pretty sure from what makes the most sense to me, I'm pretty sure all three of these F-15s probably thought those missiles weren't coming to them and they're just striking drones instead, but it ended up being on them. However, these the pilots ejected, all 6 pilots. There was 2 in each aircraft. They all ejected safely. Some had minor injuries. But dude, seeing those videos were nuts. Did you see how where they landed and everything at all?
No, I did not. Where did they land?
They landed in Kuwait, but there was. It's crazy because civilians drove up to them and they thought they were some of them thought one of the pilots was Iranian, and they were literally about to beat him with sticks and poles and stuff. But then he showed that, hey, we're from the U.S., and then they backed off. Dude, yeah, it was so crazy. Usually when you eject from a fighter jet, it's really, really violent, especially because how fast the jet's going and then how you're ejecting. It's like a brute stop force, right? It usually breaks bones. I think.
Oof. Yeah,
I think one of them hurt their hand, but the others were fine. But long story short, they're safe. They got escorted to the nearest base, and now they're safe. But that was pretty crazy to see. And then Saudi Arabia got hit as well, and a U.S. embassy in Riyadh got hit by a drone. Which this is kind of crazy to me too, because I'm surprised that these Gulf nations, did not retaliate in any manner. Granted, most of the strikes were at U.S. facilities, but these strikes hit residential areas too, hotels, desalinization plant, big infrastructure plants. I'm surprised none of them have retaliated at all. And I think the United Arab Emirates put out a statement saying, we don't believe in striking the people of Iran because they're innocent civilians or whatever, but they could have done strategic strikes as well. I don't know. That's my take. But yeah.
You want my take? You want my market take?
I want your take.
All right, guys. So here's my market take. Let's get down to the nit and grit of this. All right. So I'm sure you guys have heard, but let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz. I'm saying that right? It's the Strait of Hormuz. Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz. All right. So the Strait of Hormuz carries around 20 to 25% of the world's oil.
Yep.
And about 20% of the world's liquid natural gas. Guess who owns that strait? Iran. So, as of March 2nd,
why'd you roll your R like that?
Because, excuse me for saying it correctly.
Oh, now you want to say it correctly.
Oh, by the way, dude, are you sick?
Me?
Yeah.
No. Just allergies.
No?
Why?
See? Bro, I know how to roll my R's, dog. Anyway,
right, so Strait of Hormuz.
Right. Yes, let's get back to it. So the Islamic Revolution Guards on March 2nd declared that they were going to set close to the strait, and they threatened that they were going to set a fire to every single ship that comes through it, okay? So in the strait, there's about 153 ships a day that come through it. That number dropped to basically zero, and it went up slowly. But right now, the average is about 13 ships a day from 153. That's why you're seeing oil go crazy. You're seeing gas prices go crazy. If anyone lives in LA, there's that famous gas station in downtown LA, which is the most expensive gas station in all of California. Prices are almost at $9 per gallon.
Oh my God.
It's insane. But around California, it's like $5.50 to $6. That's just like the most expensive gas station in like all of California.
Dude, it's $5 over here.
That's crazy for Vegas.
Yeah, dude.
Golly.
Costco's $4.99.
Wow. Well, multiple oil tankers got struck. Like Justin said, the ones in Bahrain,
Tehran. It's their oil port. It's their oil processing facilities.
Right. So even oil insurance companies started to pull out their policies for like war risk coverage. Crazy stuff. So let's get even more into it. So China gets 40 to almost 50% of their oil through that strait, guys. This is a much bigger play happening here than they're putting out in the news. If anyone believes the news anymore after everything we've been through year after year for the last 5 years, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. So Trump knows that. There's no way in hell Trump doesn't know that. So that's why these are tensions for World War. Okay. So my take on this is that this is much bigger than just a war against Iran. This is about making sure that America has power because of the threats of China and Russia, right? So China is extremely formidable against the US. And then add Russia into the mix, same thing. So I think this is the biggest global energy disruption we've had since the 1970s oil crisis. The strait closing everyone affects China, India, Japan, South Korea, Europe. Over 80% of the crude oil that goes through the Hormuz goes to Asia. So this puts China in a super awkward situation because they're supposedly allies with now I laughed. They're supposedly allies with Iran, but now China is getting squeezed on their prices. Now here's where stuff gets even crazier, and we're going to get super in depth about stocks and sectors. everyone needs to keep this in mind and think global recession. Here's why. Over 40% of the global fertilizer, like the sulfur, the ammonia, the fertilizer for farming, all that stuff is disrupted. So this is hitting farmers. This is hitting food prices. The ripple effects of this are super massive. So this has like the Iraq 2023 vibes all over it. Even NPR ran a segment comparing Trump's declaration to Bush's. It's the same playbook. They said it was for regime change, but if you look throughout history, what happens with instant regime changes is chaos. It's massive chaos. And then they say, oh, we're going to need to bring in our U.S. military just to keep the peace. You guys need some freedom over there, right? So this is regime change goals, not a coalition, but this time it's Israel's enemy versus Iran. So there's no clear exit strategy right here. From what the analysts were saying in some reports that we read, you would need over 500,000 boots on the ground for an actual regime change to happen, because Iran is 3.5 times the size of Iraq, and look at how many years and troops we sent to Iraq. Okay. And they also have 3 times the population.
Yeah.
Yeah, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I got an opinion on that. Iraq, I mean, how long did Iraq last?
Over a decade, 20 years almost.
No, that's Afghanistan. Iraq got over...
Okay, a decade?
In reality, dude, Iraq got overthrown the moment that what's his name? Who was Saddam Hussein got captured. But I think
but overthrowing a country is different from actually stabilizing the country and putting in a proper regime change. You saw how quickly they bombed Iran. It's not about how quickly you can take it. It's about how can you bring peace on the land, right? Give them freedom. Yeah. And then ironically enough, JD Vance goes, "Oh, we're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program." Netanyahu has been saying this speech about Iran having nuclear weapons for the last 30 goddamn years. Okay? This is literally nothing about nuclear programs. If you think it, you're just flat out wrong. Period. End of discussion. And I'll argue this until the brakes fall off. This is nothing about nuclear programs. I could tell you that.
Yeah, I mean,
period.
It's
my charger unplugged. 1 sec.
I mean, it's definitely more so for sure to like change the trajectory of who controls what. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think the main reason is nuclear weapons. Again, and I'll say it again, but do I think Iran should have nuclear weapons? No, but the ultimate goal out of all this, is like you were saying, it's changing the trajectory of how the world operates. Who gets what goes where, this and that, yada yada yada.
Greenland was also a whole move about new power structure, right? The whole reason they wanted Greenland was to be strategically safe against Russia and China. So, but hey, I will say, you guys heard me mention fertilizer and a few other things. I got a whole playbook of plays that I've put together for this, for what's going on, because we always adapt to the market. So, let's I guess save that for the stocks. So we'll just circle back to it, but we are going to bring up everything that's happening kind of again. But let's talk about the airport scares that happened and the incident in New York that happened.
Oh, dude. Yeah. So Kansas City. I don't know if you guys saw what happened to Kansas City, but there was a bomb threat, and there was a device in one of the terminal's parking garages. Supposedly, they had to evacuate the terminals for a couple hours. The FBI came in right away and swept the area, and they deemed that the threat was not credible. Now, you're starting to see a lot of meltdowns happen, especially especially at like airports and airplanes, and you're starting to see, like we saw right after 9/11, you're starting to see a lot of normal things that you would normally see every day be misconstrued for something that it's not. For example, who saw that Southwest flight video where they had to make an emergency landing in Atlanta and the SWAT team came on board?
Yeah, and then did you see that other one that happened of the guy that was literally screaming "Death to America" on the plane and then got tackled by the passengers?
Yeah, so that video is actually a couple years old. That was an old one. Just getting researched. That's another thing too. You guys got to be careful that you guys be careful of what you're seeing too, because there's a lot of old videos of incidences like this popping up to make it seem like it's recent. Why? To ensue chaos, to ensue fear. You could argue that it's intentional propaganda. Dude, if you go on X, you wouldn't believe the amount of pro-Iran terrorist sympathizing shit I see. It's totally from these just bot accounts. It's everywhere. I'm surprised. It's one thing if you're protesting civil rights, but these accounts are glorifying the death of the death of Americans, the death of people, death of neighboring nations, whatever. But they seem to be purposely implanted, if that makes sense. But yeah, anyways, be careful of what you're watching, because a lot of old videos are surfacing that happened years ago. For example, there was one that was surfacing about a Frontier flight where somebody left a bomb threat in the bathroom on a note, and then it made an emergency landing. That actually happened in last year. But recently, what happened with this Southwest flight that had to make an emergency landing in Atlanta is that one of the passengers was praying and saying "Aloha snack bar."
Oh man.
And the passengers next to him were freaking out, and everyone else was freaking out too. And the reality, and they saw a timer on his phone going off, right? So they were putting two and two together, oh my God, this guy's about to blow this plane up. But in reality, what was really happening is he was counting down Ramadan, because it's Ramadan for the Muslim religion. He was praying. So yeah, and that's what they deemed what that was. But dude, as soon as they landed, a SWAT team came up right to the passenger, yanked him out hella hard. But yeah, that's all it was. But yeah, I'm just saying, this is the same thing you saw after 9/11. People are just on edge, and they are confusing things for other serious things. But yeah, that's what I got on that. Oh, dude, you see what happened on Saturday too, or in New York?
Saturday. No.
So this one's actually legitimate. So people were protesting, like a far-right activist group was protesting in front of Mom Donnie's mayor mansion. It's called Gracie Mansion. It's where the mayor resides. And there was a far-right activist group protesting over there. So what happened was, amid all the chaos from the protests and whatnot, 2 Pennsylvania teenagers who are of Islamic descent, right? Amir Balat, age 18, and Ibrahim Kayumi, they threw 2 IEDs. They were actual IEDs, but they didn't go off. Threw 2 IEDs in the crowd. They were immediately tackled by the pedestrians and quickly by the police. But if you saw, the video is actually pretty crazy. It was caught on film. You saw one of the guys lighting it pretty much like a firework, kind of like a stick of dynamite, and throwing it into the crowd. It didn't go off. And then the other guy wasn't able to ignite his either. But they were actual IEDs. However, they weren't made professionally because I don't think these kids knew what they were doing. But yeah. But yeah, the NYPD bomb squad analyzed IEDs and they were real. They contained enough explosive to do some serious damage. And they are
they brainwash them early.
They're confirmed ISIS supporters, man. ISIS sympathizers. And yeah, dude, that's what was going on there. It's pretty crazy. And you know what? Going back to what I said last episode, I think you're going to see more of this, to be honest.
I highly worry about all the military aged men that came into this country in the last 4 to 5 years.
Oh yeah.
From all these countries.
Oh yeah.
It's a big threat.
Oh yeah. They need to nip that in the butt now. They need to be kicking doors, knocking down doors, and nipping it in the butt now. That's one of Trump's big critiques right now. We wanted those people to be, expedited out of the country quickly, and it became a super long process. And 100%, there's some sleeper cells out there. Oh yeah. That's without a question. That's real. That's for sure. That's real deal. Holyfield. And
yeah.
Yeah. And other news,
I'm ready
guys.
To stocks if you are.
Yeah. Well, in other news, Kristi Noem. Well, speaking of DHS, Kristi Noem actually got replaced. If you guys know Kristi Noem, she was the head of DHS, Secretary of Homeland Security, and Senator Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma will be taking her place. Kristi now is going to be focusing on the cartels in the Western Hemisphere. But let's get into stocks, dude.
Yeah, stocks. All right. Whew. We'll cover it in depth, and we'll do some rapid fire stuff because I want to get into the plays. Justin, I actually added another sheet that's not on this document about some plays. So, as you guys saw, oil surged, crude went up 35% plus, and then just kept ripping. It was the biggest weekly gain all the way back to the 1980s, all the way back to the 1970s even. Oil hit over $100 a barrel. That hasn't happened in so long. And it's basically doubled since the start of the year. The average gasoline price in the States has gone up to $3.50. It's up 17% just from February 28th, guys. So if groceries weren't expensive enough, if everything else wasn't expensive enough, if inflation wasn't killing us, if mortgage rates weren't up, gas went up 17% in a week. And probably still higher since then because it just kept going. So if oil stays, it's insane. If oil stays above $100, Like I was talking about before, oil impacts everything. It makes the world move, right? It makes shipping work, like I was saying, right? It makes farming work even. So if this stays above $100, we're looking at serious inflation and potential recession risk. Okay. The U.S. produces a lot of oil domestically, so we're less dependent than we were in the late 70s, 80s. But the ripple effects, like I said, it affects fertilizer. Kay just said in the chat, one of her fertilizer stocks, I think went up 17%. So this affects shipping. It affects manufacturing. Affects everything, right?
How about the gas bill?
Affects the gas bill. Everything. So everything's gonna get more expensive if this continues. So the Dow posted its worst week ever since last April from the massive tariff news, right? It went down 450 points on Friday alone. Today, right now, the markets did have a nice little comeback, but we opened on all gap downs, and we closed, yes, a little bit in the green. But to me, that's just short covering, and we're going right back lower. So, and this comeback though that we saw in the market came from Trump tweeting that truthing on his platform Truth Social, said that the war is pretty much complete. It's pretty much done. It's very complete. No. Like I said, this is so far from over with the ripple effects that it's going to put on China. There's a lot more to consider here. So, in terms of the sectors that moved, it was the energy stocks. For example, like Frontline, DHT, International Seaways, XLE. For fertilizer stocks that went crazy was CF Industries. Gold went up to almost 5,400 an ounce. Now what got destroyed? Travel and cruise lines, right? With everything happening in the airports that Justin went over, with flights being grounded in the Middle East for days. With everything happening in the Mexico, which is literally one day in overblown proportions like crazy, those sectors got destroyed. I'll tell you guys one thing, and I'll try to make it quick. After watching charts for so long, for so many world events, you start to realize that these like elites, it's never really about war. It's like, how the hell do we make more money in the markets? Let's fuck it up with some war. Really take some time to look into war, market effects, and the money that's made during war. Because if we go into that now, it'll be too much, and I have some plays for you guys.
Oh yeah,
but
that's a whole thing I could talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. So airlines crushed. Asia's getting crushed. South Korea had a circuit breaker down 7.7%. If anybody traded during COVID, when they closed the market for like multiple days, that was the last time we ever had a circuit breaker in the States. But Korea had a circuit breaker. Japan had a circuit breaker. Taiwan had a circuit breaker. Because why? 80 to 90% of the Strait of Hormuz goes to Asia. What do you think that's going to do? There's no way China's just going to be like, fuck it. Take it. Fuck it. No, it's just not going to happen. Real quick, some more stock stuff. I know Nvidia was a while ago, but we haven't had we haven't had a market take since. They beat earnings, and it was a classic sell the news event, and we saw the rest of the market sell off. And the last market take we discussed, hey, Nvidia is going to be basically it's that little last string that's holding the market. It's either going to go up or down. And what I was saying was it's very, very, very hard to be bullish on the NVIDIA earnings, no matter how good they do. Because when you looked at NVIDIA, it was the only stock that was actually hanging on to our moving averages. It was the only stock that was hanging on to our support. Everything else was getting crushed under the 34 EMA, and crypto was getting crushed. And crypto has been pegged to the NASDAQ like crazy, which is the tech sector now. It's not really pegged on SPY. It runs a lot closer more to the NASDAQ. So keep that in mind. But it was hard to be bullish on that earnings no matter how they did, because everything else was so bearish that there's no way that it was going to end out good. It would be very, very shocking if it did. We had the job report on March 6th. That came out terrible. It was expected to be plus 59,000 jobs added, minus 92,000 jobs. It's the third time in 5 months the economy has lost jobs. Guess what? It's going to keep happening. These AIs are getting crazy. I built an app in like 2 days. It was insane. More job losses are coming. That's just a fact. Like, it's coming. If you don't learn AI, I don't know what to tell you. In probably 5 to 10 years, we'll probably be on some kind of universal income and some type of communism. It's kind of crazy to think about, but that's a whole other topic. Revisions are down from plus 48,000 jobs at the end of the year. They were saying by December we should have plus another 48,000 jobs for that month. They just changed that revision to minus 17,000 jobs. Healthcare system lost 28,000 jobs because these AIs are crushing the healthcare, and AI is advancing the medical care system like crazy. And guess what? Wages are up 0.4%, but hey, gas is up 17%.
Something's got to break. Something has to break.
In 7 days. There's going to be a fucking civil war or a goddamn
something needs to give in.
Crazy. Something's got to goddamn break.
Dude, there's another thing too where Trump's, people are saying Trump's purposely making Bitcoin the world's reserve currency, and he's going to purposely tank the dollar.
Wipe away the American debt. You know who said that first? Putin's right-hand man.
Yeah, no, I remember this very distinctly. Yeah, but that's becoming in the discussion again. They're like they're trying to find us. They're trying to find some way to default that debt on BS currency, whether that means tanking your own currency. Who knows? That's for further speculation.
Cool. I'm just saying. But we were worried about Iran. It's like, no, we weren't. Everyone in this group knows it's the same playbook being run over. This is ridiculous. Fucking hate it here.
Dude, I remember Jim Carrey doing a Iran nuclear deal back in the
Jim Carrey's dead. There's a clone of him, by the way.
Not Jim Carrey. Not Jim Carrey. I'm sorry. What's who am I thinking of?
Dude, Jim Carrey's gone, bro. We might need to edit that dead part out. I don't know how the algo would hit that. But did you see how Jim Carrey basically called out like the Jews and the Illuminati in this one on this Jimmy Kimmel, and then like Jimmy Kimmel is looking at him like he's just absolutely insane, and then next thing you know, you don't hear anything from Jim Carrey in like 2 to 3 years, and all of a sudden he looks like Brian Johnson. He looks like a clone.
Yeah, no, I saw that whole video. Honestly, bro, obviously he didn't look like himself, but I think he just got some work done, to be honest, because he's obviously getting old.
Yeah.
Like, look at Mickey Rourke. Have you seen Mickey Rourke?
Yeah, but dude, that guy's insane though.
Jim Carrey's insane too.
He's always been doing that kind of stuff.
I was thinking of John Kerry. You remember John Kerry?
I'm not sure.
Dude, I remember when he was when he was doing that whole Iran thing with the nuclear deal. I think that was literally before Bush. I don't know why I had such a vivid memory of that, but
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
let's go into what we like to call the rapid fire.
Okay.
It's a little new thing for you guys.
We running with it. You saw it last time in the notes. You're like, ooh, huh? It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. All right. So other smaller rapid fire stock headlines: Berkshire Hathaway resumes stock buybacks for the first time since 2024, and their new CEO Greg Abel has personally bought back 15 million in stock. AMD and Meta had a crazy anywhere from 60 to $100 billion 5-year AI chip deal. This happened on February 24th, but like I said, we did not have an episode last week. That's why you saw AMD had that crazy runoff before the sell-off. Broadcom has earnings this week. Tesla was just upgraded by Bank of America because of the robo-taxi thesis. The stock is still down 13% and is still in a downtrend. GDP Now tracker plunged 2%, analyzed from 3% earlier in the week. And then the G7 said they're ready to take necessary measures, including stockpile release for energy supply. And then Steve Eisman from The Big Short. Not to be confused with the main guy. If you remember the movie, Steve Carell played Steve Eisman. He said he wouldn't change a single trade because of Iran. Long term, very, very positive. I get what he's saying. Like I said, the war does cause recession, and then long term, it's a freaking money printer, and all the top guys become extremely rich between war, and then the lower end people end up biting the bullet and getting wrecked. Let's get into crypto, Justin.
Let's get into it. You guys saw Bitcoin, right? Do that brief little relief pump, and they go straight back down. It said a bunch of whales were selling off right after the pump. But interesting enough, Bitcoin actually saw the most inflows it's seen since December 2025 on Bitcoin through big institutions. Now, Art, tell me, what do you earlier you said, Bitcoin's been consolidating for 6 weeks. Where do you see it from here?
Yep. So it has been consolidating for 6 weeks. It's rejected off the 34 EMA again now on the daily chart. But crypto does well during war times. It is the easiest way to move money. The CIA moves money with crypto a lot. A lot of deals that are under the radar are moved through crypto. But we need to keep thinking about crypto on a much bigger scale than we've been thinking about it before. One thing that I like to use as the analysis, especially during times like this where Bitcoin, is down 40 to 50% from highs, is that we're seeing stocks become tokenized. Like, if that right there is not the biggest identifier that crypto is here to stay, I really don't know what to tell you, because the stock market is a system that's been out for over 100 years now. It is the biggest financial tool in the world, and we're already seeing institutions want to tokenize the NASDAQ. We're seeing institutions want to tokenize the New York Stock Exchange. We're already seeing that this could potentially happen Q3, Q4 of this year. We're already seeing crypto exchanges with tokenized stocks. And then out of nowhere, Kraken gets a Federal Reserve. So it's the first crypto firm in history to hold the Federal Reserve master account.
What is that? What is that exactly?
So it's basically getting a account created so where they can settle their dollar payments directly through the reserve without having to go through a bank, so they can settle the trades. So like in the stock market, when you buy a share and you sell it the next day, it hasn't settled yet. Also, when you buy a share, you get the credit, but it hasn't settled yet. That's why if anyone has like if anyone has a cash account, when you buy or sell something that day, it takes time for those funds to settle. So this is basically crypto entering like a sovereign infrastructure. Sorry, can't talk. This is probably, besides the ETFs, like one of the biggest milestones in crypto history, because this means that crypto is being directly plugged into the Federal Reserve's like payment rails, basically. So this is huge. This to me tells that institutional adoption is here to stay, and it's only going to get more and more massive. And then when you have Morgan Stanley now filing for a Bitcoin ETF, and then they named Coinbase as their custody. So Coinbase stock is probably going to be one to keep betting on, because if you guys know, they hold reserves for the US government too. So they're going to be holding the reserves for Morgan Stanley. If their ETF goes through and it's Morgan Stanley, I'm sure their ETF is going to go through. And if you guys remember ICE, the international, the Intercontinental Exchange, that's the owner of the New York Stock Exchange, right? They're the ones that invested into OKX crypto exchange, gave them a $25 billion evaluation. And they're the ones that are pushing for the NASDAQ to go tokenized and be open 5 days a week for 23 hours a day. So there's, yeah.
You know, it's so funny too lately, because lately a lot of people are, friends or random people would like, call me or come up to me and just be like, screw crypto. I'm just going to focus on stocks. Stocks are so much better. And then when I tell them, well, like the stock market's going to go completely on chain and be like 5 days a week, pretty soon here, their jaws drop. Like they can't believe it. Listen, I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. People during a bear market like we're in right now, right? People, there's always going to be the doom and gloom. There's always going to be some new reason why people don't like crypto anymore, or they're just saying the same thing worded differently. It's the same exact thing. And then when the bull market comes around, their tune changes, whatever. But yeah, I mean, you better adapt now, and you better get familiar now, and now's not the time to like give up and take a break. And
also download Claude.
Yeah, just because the market's cooled off after going, just because you played the market wrong doesn't mean you should throw your hands up and come back and do the same thing again when it's running again, and you get it wrong another time. How about you stick around and you learn when it matters most, and that's in the bear market. I don't know.
Dude, I learned so much in COVID, and 2017, 2018, I got destroyed crypto winter. Learned how to trade long successfully, and then all of a sudden COVID hit. I'm like, shit, I have to learn how to short, and then trading it through everything else that's happened in the last 4 to 5 years. You start to learn so much stuff if you just stick around.
Yeah, you guys need to get familiar with the cycles. You need to feel. I know what you guys are going to say. You're going to quote me from that JE interview when he says traders feel the market. They don't know what's going. They feel it. But you guys need to feel the cycles. You need to know how the cycles work. But yeah. Yeah. Dude, this Clarity Act, though,
Yeah,
that's getting a lot of pushback. There's something I want to talk about, too, because I sent an email about it as well. But, I mean, okay, guys, if you don't know what the Clarity Act is, it's giving more regulatory oversight over everything crypto versus the Genius Act when it's mainly like how stable coins are regulated. Clarity Act gives you a clear regulatory framework for everything, for all digital assets, and for the CFTC and the SEC to work together on. Now, we're at a standstill with it, and the primary reason is because the traditional banks cannot stand the fact that crypto exchanges or firms offer 4% and up on stablecoin yields, and the banks don't have that. So, they're throwing a fit about that. You've gotten a lot of withdrawal of support from people like Brian Armstrong from Coinbase. He's not happy with what the banks are trying to do. The White House is not necessarily begging, but they're begging for those two to work together. But long story short, we're just at a huge disagreement at the Clarity Act. So I have no idea when this is going to pass or if it will, to be honest. But It looks like there needs to be some things worked out. However, if you guys saw my email last week on Friday, I sent it out. The CFTC and the SEC said U.S. perpetual futures are coming very soon, within the month or so. Kind of exciting.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
It's cool.
Not excited.
No, I was just ready to answer Austin's question.
Answer it.
Yeah, so Austin asks, so now Kraken won't have processing time if you withdraw. No, it's not that. It's that before Kraken would have to be like us. They would have to basically open a bank account with a bank to do their bank transactions, to get their deposits, yada, 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 right? But now Kraken can be their own bank. They are their own bank now. That means actually buying crypto with fiat is going to be cheaper on Kraken than before. Ironically enough, we got a partnership with Kraken a few weeks ago, but I haven't talked about that yet. I haven't talked about that yet because I'm also going to get a partnership with their crypto prop firm. It's funny how stuff is happening this way. Stuff just falls into place. But basically, they don't need to bank with anyone anymore because they are going to be their own bank now. So it is going to be cheaper to purchase and even sell crypto for fiat on there because they don't have to go through a intermediary bank, and they also don't face the risk of getting basically like rugged, for lack of better words, from a bank. So one of the reasons why people had to move off of Binance and even Binance US was because their banks basically said, hey, we don't want to work with a crypto company anymore. It's too much risk. We just don't want to get involved. That's why we saw a lot of these crypto companies go down because the bank actually revoked them. They said, hey, this is too much risk for us. Now Kraken doesn't have to worry about that. They're their own bank. They can't get
Chase used to do this a lot.
They can't get deplatformed like FTX did basically. I mean, hold on, let me redact that. Yeah, they can't get debanked. Of course, they can crash like FTX if they fucking take their customers' funds and over leverage and stuff like that. But they can't get debanked. That's what I meant. Thanks, Justin. You want to do the crypto rapid fire, and then I'll get into the stock plays since we're running a bit late. Just do the rapid fire, and I want to talk about what's happening in the stock market.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, some crypto rapid fire News topics: Bitcoin bear market. ZX Square Capital says BTC could drop another 30% in 2026, citing 4-year cycle bear market deepening. I agree with that. I still think we're in deep bearish territory. Genius Act signed into law, first ever U.S. regulatory framework for stablecoins. Coinbase launched stock trading on its platform. Western Union launching USDPT stablecoin on Solana in partnership with Crossmit. This is old news. Tether invested $50 million in 8 Sleep at $1.5 billion valuation. A16Z crypto targeting $2 billion for 5th crypto fund. Nice. Ethereum Glamsterdam upgrade. What a crazy name.
Right.
Scheduled for March 10th. Binance announced temporary ETH deposit withdrawal suspension. Polkadot executing tokenomic shift. Annual inflation dropping 10% to 3.1% with hard cap on DOT supply. They announced this quite some time ago. Which is kind of there's a lot of Polkadot fans out there actually, and this was one of the main things that was hindering the price action on Polkadot. If they're actually a really good team, and they've been around since the beginning, so that's exciting. Ondo Finance expanded tokenized stock offerings to 32 blue chip stocks on Ethereum via Mexi partnership. Cool. 38% of altcoins trading near all-time lows, according to CryptoCont. Worst altcoin pullback of the current cycle. If you guys remember a couple of market takes ago, that there was this kid where his father was contracted by the U.S. government to protect their crypto, and the kid was stealing money from that. And
yeah, that was insane.
Guess what? He's arrested. He got arrested.
Good for him.
Yeah, and he was arrested in the island of Saint Martin by the French Gendarmerie Premier Elite Tactical Unit in a joint operation with the FBI. He's arrested, and I think he was wearing a wig when he got arrested. Like he was trying to a disguise or something. It was. I'll show you the picture, but he looked like a total dweeb.
Oh, was that the picture with the guy in the red pants?
Yeah, that's him. Does that not look like a wig? That's a wig, right?
He looked like Ollie G, one of those Borat movies.
Yeah. And then Dubai,
right.
And then Dubai has told KuCoin to cease operations. But yeah, anyways, go on.
All right. So let's talk about plays. So we talked about how the Strait of Hormuz carries about 20 to 25% of the global oil and about 80 to 90% of the oil to Asia and 20% of the world's liquid natural gas. But what we didn't talk about was that a third of the world's fertilizer and the raw materials for fertilizer also goes through there too. So now North American producers are seeing insane supply kind of struggles. So now we're seeing fertilizer stocks go through the roof, extremely similar to how the demand for silver went through the roof and silver bars went crazy. Well, now we're seeing the demand for fertilizer go crazy. So there's basically two different types of plays that we can attack for this. Okay, so let's talk about the short-term trades, because the fertilizer trades are going to be the more long-term trades, especially if this lasts more than March. So the short-term trades are going to be on shipping and tankers, and it's going to be short-term because it's going to be based on the volatility that we're getting from what's going on in the Strait. So Frontline right now is the big dog, ticker symbol FRO. It's the largest pure play crude tanker company. It's up already 5% since the Iran strike, and it's also where most institutional money goes for tanker exposure. Okay. So the benefits from rerouting is that ships will go through Africa instead of through the Hormuz, which adds weeks to transit, which will make the tankers go up because they're going to charge way more because they have way longer trips. They need way more gas. It's just the whole circle. DHT Holdings is another huge, large crude play. It's already up 5% since the Iran strike. International Seaways, ticker INSW, is up 6% from there. And then some of the other ones. This one's pretty interesting, okay, because STNG, Scorpio Tankers, they're responsible for 30% of Europe's jet fuel. Jet fuel gets used up really quickly in Europe. The other one is Zim, which is a shipping container company. It's probably the most volatile and speculative play. A lot of the Chinese shipping stocks have surged crazy. This is one of them. So we're seeing like record freights, which is really good for earnings for these companies. But if the strait stays closed long term, there's physically less cargo to move. So Kuwait did cut some production, and so did Iran. So like 70% of the output has dropped. So now they have to take the super long way, which, like I said, makes the trip times go up. It makes the staff hours go up. So check those out for the short-term plays. Now, let's get into what I think are the smarter plays, and that's the fertilizers, which is just crazy to think of. But
you're starting to break up a little bit, Art.
Oh, is it all right now, or good thing we're almost done?
Go ahead.
So CF Industries just hit a 52-week high. It's up 17% in the last week alone, but there's still a lot more to go. I think. So going into the spring planting season, about 50% of the world's sulfur, which I guess is super important for farming, which is something that I just learned. That comes from the Persian Gulf, which goes through the Strait of Hormuz, and that supply is now cut off. So CF Industries is the one to look for fertilizer plays. Look at also IPI, Intrepid Potash. And then look for NTR, Nutrient. And then there are some other really small ones like Mosaic, MOS, and then CTVA, Corteva. Yep, Pico just said it, MOS. Even though MOS is a smaller stock, they control 80% of the phosphorus market. So, yeah.
Dude, be like Hillary Clinton and flip $1,000 to $100,000 trading cattle futures. Get that mindset going.
Who did that?
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
Trading cattle futures. Yeah. It's not insider trading at all.
It was.
These guys are like, well, tech's done. Let's make money on cattle and fertilizer and start a war.
Dude, yeah, I don't know the exact details of that trade, but it was like some crazy, wacky information that she was playing on. I mean, it was obviously insider trading because she was working with Tyson Farms on it too. But yeah, there was just some like very like niche, nuanced information that she was getting, and yeah, she did that.
Damn. Well, so my overall take, guys, is fertilizer and then shipping and then energy, especially for the Hormuz plays. CF Industries is the number one pick. If you want to go a little bit more conservative, check out NTR because it gives you diversified fertilizer exposure. And then if you're looking for some quicker volatility trades, FRO or STNG, which are on the tanker side, and just keep watching oil. If Trump's actual comment about this war being very complete actually leads to a resolution, then all these markets do unwind fast. Not all these markets, but the markets that I just talked about. So that's the risk, okay? But if this drags out for another 2-4 weeks, these are going to be the names that run super hard. So just keep that in mind. That's all I got, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Peace, everybody.